week at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, you called out President Clinton for defending Secretary Clinton's use of the term super predator back in the 90s when she supported the crime bill. Why did you call him out?
Because it was a racist term and everybody knew it was a racist term.
In the Impact segment tonight, we continue with Donald Trump from Indiana. So this morning you phoned into the Today Show, and this happened.
Mr. Trump, I mean, for you to say that if she were not a woman, she would be getting 5%, suggests the only thing she has going for her is that she's a woman.
I think the only thing she's got going is the fact that she's a woman. She has done a terrible job in so many different ways. You look at Libya, you look at some of the things that she's done are just absolutely disastrous. No, I would say the primary thing that she has going is that she's a woman, and she is playing that card like I have never seen anybody play it before.
Now, do you think Ms. Guthrie was offended by your statement about Hillary Clinton?
It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, she's perfectly nice, but I don't really care. I mean, it's a fact. She's playing the woman card. It's the only thing she's got going. That's it.
What about...
And she's playing it as much as she can. I mean, I've been watching it. I mean, all she does, every time she raises, if you raise your voice, it's like, oh, look what he's saying, and look at the way he talks. Give me a break. I mean, she raises her voice much more than I raise mine, believe me.
What about this sexism thing? I don't really know what this is. Anytime I say or criticize a woman, I'm accused of being a sexist. But anytime I criticize the African-American community in any way, then I'm a racist. If I criticize illegal immigrants, then I'm anti-poor and anti-Hispanic. I think that's going to be a major theme directed against you. Anytime you criticize Hillary Clinton, you're a sexist. Are you ready for that?
No, I don't think it will at all, and I'll tell you why. She's going to try and play it, but I'm going to bring jobs back to this country. Nobody respects women more than I do, by the way, and I see it at the rallies. And you saw it just the other day in New York, in Pennsylvania. You know, I won all these states in landslides, and I just absolutely killed everybody with the women. The women came out in droves, and I won the women category. I won African American. I won virtually every category. I won landslides, and that means the 5 that we just won, and then New York the week before. But I won with women and just about every other group. In fact, every other group.
To knock me down and take me out of the political arena, I'm more than happy to have him do anymore.
They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them
down these markers. You got to build toward common sense gun reform, criminal justice reform, and all the like. So I think we've got a very, I think we've got somebody saying here, we have to bring them
apologize for mass incarceration.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
I'm not a super predator, Hillary Clinton.
Okay, fine, we'll talk about it.
You apologize to black people for mass incarceration?
Well, can I talk? And then maybe you can listen to what I say. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. There's a lot of issues in this campaign. The very first speech that I gave back in April was about criminal justice reform and about
predators.
You're being rude. It's not appropriate.
Predators. That's rude.
This is not appropriate.
That's rude.
Now, you want to hear the facts, you just want to talk.
I know that you called black youth super predators in 1994. Please explain the record. Explain it to us. You owe black people an apology.
Well,
excuse us. That's an inappropriate
thing. If you will give me a chance to talk, I'll approach your side. You know what? Nobody's ever asked me before. You're the first person to ask me, and I'm happy to address it, but you are the first person to ask me here. Okay. Back to...
Welcome back to Hannity. Hillary Clinton is facing a lot of backlash after the Washington Free Beacon unearthed audio tapes from the 1980s of her. Now, she recalls her time as a lawyer, specifically when she defended a man accused of raping a 12-year-old girl, even though she thought he was guilty at the time.
That case where I represented that guy, it was a fascinating case. It was a really interesting case. This guy was accused of raping a 12-year-old. Of course, he claimed that he did all this stuff. He took a lie detector test. I had to take a polygraph, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in polygraphs.
How did it turn out?
Oh, he plea bargained. We got him off. It was time served in the county jail. He'd been in the county jail about 2 months.
And look what else we got our hands on. Hillary Clinton from the early 90s claiming that she cared about women and children.
Over the past 25 years, I have worked persistently on issues relating to women, children, and families. It is a violation of human rights when individual women are raped in their own communities. It is a violation of human rights when a leading cause of death worldwide among women ages 14 to 44 is the violence they are subjected to in their own homes by their own relatives.
Here with reaction to more, the always outspoken Ann Coulter. Nobody in the media is covering this story. Now, she got the guy off with time served, even though she said, I gave up my faith in polygraphs. So she's defending somebody she knows is guilty of raping a 12-year-old girl, gets him off, is laughing about it on tape.
Right.
And then is the great champion of women. And
right. Right. Well, first of all, I do love the Southern accent, not as much as when she does a black accent, but the Southern accent is fun. No, I think this is a pretty serious matter, and I first heard about it on your radio show. I didn't know what you were talking about. I don't think this is going to go over well with normal people because it fits in with the whole idea, both of the Democratic Party and particularly the Clintons, that they are just con artists pretending to care about the little guy while they're using legal trickery to perpetrate injustices on the weak and powerless, which is what Hillary Clinton did here. I mean, this poor girl, if you read about what the crime was, it's quite shocking, more than comes across in that little fake Southern accent conversation she gives. It was two guys who brutally raped and beat a 12-year-old girl who was a virgin. She was made infertile. She was in a coma for 5 days. And Hillary Clinton not only defended this guy, do not believe what they are saying elsewhere, that lawyers are required to do this. You know, oddly enough, I am a lawyer. I practice law. I don't know any lawyers who have defended criminals. I mean, personally.
She said she did it as a favor.
You have to reach out to take these cases. No one forces you to defend, Ted Bundy. It's always the same lawyers doing it. In any event, she submitted an affidavit claiming that this poor 12-year-old girl was a fantasist, that she had falsely accused other people before. When the girl was presented with this recently, she didn't know that Hillary had worked so hard to get her rapist off. She said, I don't know what she's talking about. She's lying in this affidavit. How can we trust her as president if she'll lie in a court case to defend the rapist of a young girl? And I just think it fits into this whole, oh, I feel your pain phoniness of the Clintons. Often the scandals that hurt the most, like Gary Hart, for example, being caught in the monkey business, having an affair. When it hurts the most is when it fits into an image a sneaking suspicion people already have about you, and that is the suspicion people have about the Clintons, the big defenders of women and children. She's laughing about getting a guilty rapist off. I think this is a big issue. I think it's bigger than Benghazi.
And I got to tell you, and you think back to the last election campaign, and one of the big stories was that Mitt Romney may have cut some kid's hair in high school.
No, but I'm sorry, but the contrast is just shocking.
I know.
What is it, the Cranbrook School up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan? They have to go back 40, 50 years, and I think the kids' parents were defending Mitt Romney, some high school alleged prank that neither the family nor Mitt Romney remembered. And they're running that every day on the cover of the Washington Post. This is when Hillary Clinton was an adult, when she was a practicing lawyer, and it fits in with what I would say not only about the Clintons, but about the Democratic Party generally, this nonsense. I never want to hear about the Republican war on women anymore. In addition to this, we have just this week New York taxpayers spending $40 million to pay off 5 savage rapists from Central Park, which I've written about a lot, including in my book Demonic. There's no question that these 5 were guilty. And again, it's just legal chicanery and the powerful putting one over on innocent victims of rapists.
You have sold multiple #1 best-selling books. $84,000 for a $14 or $15 million advance. Hillary claiming she was broke the year she got an $8 million book deal. Seriously. And then she says, today, that, well, Bill and I aren't well off. And meanwhile, Chelsea Clinton says, I tried real hard to care about money. She got a $600,000 salary for almost a no-show job in television.
Yes. What did they calculate it was per minute?
Oh, it's crazy.
$16,000 per minute Chelsea spent on NBC's airwaves. No, Hillary does not have the light touch that Bill Clinton does, and that's saying something, since I don't think he's so charming and charismatic despite the rumors. But that business about dead broke, what's funny is to see liberals, they flash back and forth between viciously attacking Mitt Romney for having worked for his money. He gave away all the money he inherited, worked for his money, made himself a wealthy man, and then when Hillary Clinton, who has acquired all of this money by being married to an adulterous president, and oh, we must make her president now, that's how she gets her money, and they turn around and start citing, FDR. Well, we want our presidents to be richer than we are. Wait, you weren't saying that about Mitt Romney. It was all Mr. Elitist out of touch.
Ann Coulter, good to see you. You were quoted in the Drudge Report saying, I had only a few minutes. I wanted to make an appearance. Tell us about that meeting.
They came in, but just before they did, the driver who was who had gone to the airport and picked him up came over to me and said that he was a local pharmacist in this area, and I think he's relocated now into Fayetteville. But he told me, he said, the whole topic of conversation from the airport was you, and are you going to be there? And
this is a friend of yours, the driver?
Yes.
And he told you
He
that?
came over to me and said that, and I really didn't know what to think about that. The minute they came in the door, I'm standing over in the living room area, and I see them come through the kitchen area, and I see her going up to someone, and they're pointing at me. And I see him go the opposite direction. I assumed when they came in, if I was still there, that he might come up and say something. But she made her way just as quick as she could to me.
And what happened?
Well, I almost got nauseous when she came over to me. And she came over to me, took a hold of my hand, and said, I've heard so much about you, and I've been dying to meet you, or been wanting to meet you. I can't, it's just paraphrasing right now. And she said, I just want you to know how much that Bill and I appreciate what you do for him. And I said, well, thank you. And I started to turn and walk away. This woman, this little soft-spoken, pardon me for the phrase, dowdy woman, that seemed very unassertive, took a hold of my hand and squeezed it and said, do you understand everything that you do? I could have passed out at that moment. And I got my hand from hers and I left.
How hard was she? She was really squeezing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. She was just holding on to my hand. She didn't, because I had started to turn away from her. And she held on to my hand and she said, do you understand everything that you do? I mean, cold chills went up my spine. That's the first time I became afraid of that woman.
You interpret that to mean she knew about the incident?
I certainly do. And thank you for keeping quiet.
The final part of my exclusive interview with Juanita Broaddrick. Is something motivating you? There's something you want to say? Why did you want to come out now?
I think it's because they have turned a deaf ear, to my situation. I have really wrestled with this in my own mind, what I should do, and it's so upsetting to see Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton do the things that they do now and have the past that they have on this situation.
Mm-hmm. You never wrote a book. You never sold your story. You've had a lot of offers?
I've had a couple of offers as well. Mm-hmm.
But you never did. Hillary, our book comes out, as you know, it's out this week.
Yes.
1 million copies are in print. It's a pretty large first printing. We read $8 million she got for the deal. One of the things she says in this book is that Bill had lied to her up until 2 days before she gave her grand jury testimony. He gave the grand jury testimony. And she said he came to her that morning, admitted the Monica Lewinsky thing. Let me read you what she says. I could hardly breathe. I was gulping for air. I started crying and yelling. What do you mean? What are you saying? Why did you lie to me? She said she didn't have a clue. She believed him up to that point.
That is unbelievable. It's completely unbelievable, because I think she's always known, at least for the 25 years that I've been familiar with them, I think she's always known. I think she's always covered up for him. And like I've said before, I can't imagine someone covering up what a man and her husband has done just for the sake of power.
You think that's what it's about?
Yeah, I think it's power, and I think it's money.
Let me say, we did offer President Clinton, Senator Clinton, and their respective camps time to appear and respond tonight to the allegations. Neither party responded to our repeated offer.
There are a lot of people who wrote these eulogies for Senator Byrd in the newspapers, and I read a bunch of them, and they mentioned that he once had a fleeting association with a Ku Klux Klan. And what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. He was a country boy from the hills and hollows of West Virginia. He was trying to get elected. And maybe he did something he shouldn't have done, and he spent the rest of his life making it up. And that's what a good person does. There are no perfect people. There are certainly no perfect politicians.
Today, our country has lost a true American original, my friend and mentor, Robert C. Byrd. Senator Byrd was a man of surpassing eloquence and nobility. And I will remember him for many things, but most of all, for a heartfelt comment he made to me in the dark days following the attack on our country on 9/11. My state of New York was reeling, and we were scrambling to provide support and relief. Think of me as the third senator from New York, he said, and he meant it. Thanks to the leadership of Senator Byrd, who chaired the Appropriations Committee, New Yorkers and Americans got the help we needed. I will never forget his devotion and his friendship in that critical time. It is almost impossible to imagine the United States Senate without Robert Byrd. He was not just its longest serving member, he was its heart, its soul, and its historian. From my first day in the Senate, I sought out his guidance.
Her first interview yesterday in a long, long time, first national interview she gave to CNN. You give interviews all the time. You're out there, you're talking extemporaneously. Why do you think Hillary Clinton is not talking?
Well, Anderson, she's got a lot to hide. I mean, she gets a subpoena on emails, and from the United States Congress, and she gets rid of the emails and her server and everything.
She said yesterday in the interview, by the way, she didn't get a subpoena. There isn't a subpoena.
I mean, they said they issued a subpoena, but you're right. I mean, she handled it like, what's going on? How can you do that? She has a lot to hide. She doesn't want to talk to the press. Look, she was the worst Secretary of State in the history of the United States.
But you used to donate, you gave a lot of money to her over the years.
Because I was a businessman. I guess I still am. But I was a businessman. I was with everybody. Everybody loved me. When I called them, they always treated me well. And that's part of the game. And that's part of what's wrong with this country. Because as a businessman,
the procedures, the landmine field of bureaucracy, unfortunately, to make sure that I am a sworn law enforcement agent for 32 years now, also a constable in Texas, and I conduct raids with the heroes of law enforcement all across the country. I get to carry a gun nationwide because of the House Resolution 218 that we passed, finally giving what is, to me, who would not want a cop to be armed every place? They're trained to serve and protect. You can't stop a bad guy with a middle finger and a bag of quarters. I want warriors to have the tools necessary to stop evil. But that we had to get special legislation to authorize, look, I got goosebumps, it's so bizarre. Ted Kennedy thinks it's reasonable gun control to send in 2 deputy cops to a shooting at a pizza parlor in New York. They're both dead. Because you don't send unarmed cops into dangerous conditions unless you're absolutely mentally deranged, Ted Kennedy and Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. You are evil people. You are on the side of evil because you're guaranteeing that good guys will die at the hands of evil because you won't let us carry guns. And I got a message for you, but this is a family TV show, so you have to figure it out. It's in there. It's camouflage. Can you see it? Pick one. It's indecent the other side. The gun grabbers are indecent. They are absolutely complicit in every violent crime that happens, because in every violent crime where there is an innocent victim, they are a descendant of Ted Kennedy's insanity. And that is, you will be armed, you will be helpless, and you will die. Ted Kennedy says so, not this guy.
So are we going to see
any questions?
Anybody. And that is part of the problem.
They are going to people showing videos of Donald Trump insulting Islam and Muslims in order to recruit more radical jihadists.
Fact checkers have said that she was wrong. There is no video that ISIS is using as a recruitment.
There's a video, and it seems like there's a pattern now of her claiming that videos exist that do not exist that will cause, terrorism. This just reinforces her.
In this campaign, majority of Americans question your honesty. Some GOP rivals and family members of the Benghazi victims are saying you lied to them in that hearing.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with.
Absolutely lying. She told me something entirely different at the casket ceremony. She said it was the cause of the video and tell me what happened with my son.
That's consistent to her career as a serial liar. Without a doubt, Mrs. Clinton really has a problem embracing the truth.
I just decided I'd better look at the notes just to review exactly what she said, so I'd have the facts down. And let me just read what's written down here. It says, I gave Hillary a hug and shook her hand, and she said, we are going to have the filmmaker arrested who was responsible for the death of your son.
What difference at this point does it make?
When I think back now to that day and what she knew, it shows me a lot about her character, that she would choose in that moment to basically perpetuate what she knew was untrue.
This was a fast-moving series of events in the fog of war, and I think most Americans understand.
How about more generally? Do you think there's something you can do to get a majority of Americans to believe you're trustworthy?
I remember landing under sniper fire. There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles to get to our base.
Her arrival in Bosnia was not quite as dramatic as Clinton put it. Memory should always match the videotape.
We are the only country in the world that can stop that. The Israelis, in my opinion, do not have the capability of stopping it. They can delay it. But at the end of the day, if we don't get it done the way the administration's working on it now, which I totally agree with, then we ought to take them out.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, we're working hard. We're working hard.
I said at the end of the day. The end of the day may be next year. It will be next year.
Yeah, look,
I'm waiting.
Look. I think the president has been very, very clear on this.
A new world order.
He has always said all options are on the table, and he means it.
They're having troubles now. The sanctions are not complete yet. We want to squeeze them down more, but they're having an effect.
And then, frankly, there are those who are saying the best thing that could happen to us is be attacked by somebody. Just bring it on, because that would unify us. It would legitimize the regime. An argument is made constantly on the hard line side of the government that, we're not going to give anything up, and in fact, we're going to provoke an attack, because then we will be in power for as long as anyone can imagine.
And that's the reason I say, if anybody's going to do it, we ought to do it.
All my grandparents, came over here, and
turns out only one was an immigrant, 3 were not.
the server contains
personal communications from my husband and me. The server will remain private.
Only time I got on the internet, I did 2 emails. Otherwise, I didn't want to be one of them.
I have been a critic of NAFTA from the very beginning.
Frequent favorable comments about NAFTA, including this one in 1996.
Oh, I think that everybody is in favor of free and fair trade, and I think that NAFTA is proving its worth.
Participants in that event said, quote, her remarks were totally pro-NAFTA. And when Barack Obama sent out this mailer last month in Ohio arguing that Clinton actually supported NAFTA as First Lady, Clinton exploded, accusing Obama of dirty tricks.
So shame on you, Barack Obama.
In 76, Jimmy Carter famously said, I will not lie to you.
Well, I have to tell you, I have tried in every way I know how, literally from my years as a young lawyer all the way through my time as Secretary of State, to level with the American people.
You talk about leveling with the American people. Have you always told the truth?
I've always tried to. Always. Always.
Some people are going to call that wiggle room that you just gave yourself.
Well, no,
always tried to.
No,
I mean,
always
Jimmy
tried
Carter said, I will never lie to you.
You know, you're asking me to say, have I ever? I don't believe I ever have. I don't believe I ever have. I don't believe I ever will. I'm going to do the best I can to level with the American people.
We have more than met the request from the State Department. The server contains personal communications from my husband and me, and I believe I have met all of my responsibilities, and the server will remain private.
Hello. Recently, it was revealed that while I was Secretary of State, I did not use a government email. I used a personal one, leading many to believe I was hiding scandalous or incriminating emails. And to those people, I'd like to say, nice try. Those emails are clean as a whistle. This is not how Hillary Clinton goes down. Hi, it's Hillary. I really screwed up on Benghazi today. Please. I wasn't born yesterday. I was born 67 years ago, and I have been planning on being president ever since. There will be no mistakes in my rise to the top.
I want to thank Stan Lee and Peter Paul.
We decided to start our own company, starting with 1 employee and $500,000 that I put together.
Peter set me free.
Stan Lee, some big announcement he's making about the internet.
Within a year, we had a market cap in excess of $300 million. I decided, well, maybe I should reach out to Bill Clinton to work with us and be a rainmaker for the company when he left the White House.
My first entrepreneurial venture was setting up a comic book stand and used comic books. I had 2 Foot Lockers full of them.
I could accomplish my objective by becoming a major contributor to the party.
I don't know about you, but I've been to 1 or 2 of these events.
It's critical that we all chip in and contribute whatever we can.
We want to thank you, and we're going to be there for you.
That's great.
It was great to see you.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
This has nothing to do with campaign contributions at all.
How are you?
Nice to see you again.
I'm very glad to see you again. And I also want to thank Stan and Joan and Peter and Andrea for their support.
My interest in supporting Hillary Clinton was specifically to hire Bill Clinton.
I'm thrilled. You got me all jazzed up.
And they concocted a big fundraiser for Hillary.
This fundraiser in August 2000 in Los Angeles raised more than $1 million for then Senate candidate Hillary Clinton.
I want to thank Stan Lee and Peter Paul.
I had accomplished hiring a president of the United States to work with me when he left the White House. The Washington Post published the first article
of Peter Paul having a felony record from 2 decades previous.
And that I didn't contribute any money to her campaign, and she vowed she wouldn't take any money from me.
And her representatives, in making these false allegations, were lying on her behalf.
The Clintons now had to pretend that they did not even know who Peter Paul was.
Do you recall Mr. Paul? Do you recall working with him at all?
A few days later, on August 18th, they each sent me handwritten letters which professed our undying friendship, their undying gratitude. A full 2 weeks from the original story in which Hillary vowed never to take money from me, her finance director faxed me a request for $100,000. My reaction to that was, well, why would I send any more money when you vowed not to take any more money from me?
This appears that it was planned all along that they were going to deceive Peter Paul, steal his Japanese business partner, and do damage to his company. Tendo Oto had promised to infuse Stanley Media with $5 million in November of 2000. Bill Clinton's business partner, Jim Levin, had flown to Japan, stolen Tendo Oto as a business partner, made his own agreement.
And what he had effectively done was convince Oto, instead of working with the president with me and my company, that he could work directly with the president with Levin. So that began to trigger a meltdown of the stock. The company collapsed as a result. I discovered that in the filings that Hillary's campaign filed with the FEC, they had entirely omitted any reference to any of my contributions.
The Clintons took $2 million from me and hid it.
Now, what we're looking at here is the largest election law fraud in the history of the United States.
And he told the feds that the Clinton campaign lied about it.
Everything.
And I delivered a demand letter to Hillary Clinton. We had filed the civil suit against the Clintons, which detailed all the money that I'd spent with copies of checks and invoices. And then I discovered that I was being investigated in connection with the misuse of my brokerage accounts. I was suddenly detained by Interpol in Brazil for extradition. They moved me to a remote part of this jail, which was called the Corridor of Death. The Clintons were able to have the original civil suit thrown out on the basis of that I was a fugitive at the time.
Hillary's skill has been in seeing to it that obvious crimes didn't reach the level of being placed in front of a jury. Because if they ever had, she might have been baking cookies in the same place that Martha Stewart did.
The court held that the case should proceed to trial.
But clearly this could have implications for Mrs. Clinton's political future.
Sure, this could have serious implications not just for her 2006 re-election campaign, but for 2008, where she's the front runner for the presidential nod.
The chief of public integrity finally indicted David Rosen.
The feds charging David Rosen with intentionally understating contributions for a Hollywood fundraising gala.
Hillary Clinton's former chief fundraiser under fire
for allegations of lying about the cost of a fundraiser put together on her behalf.
The judge that officiated over the Rosen trial was appointed by the Clintons.
The judge went out of his way, took every possible effort to make certain that everyone on that jury knew that Hillary Clinton had nothing whatever to do with what Mr. Rosen did. The whole idea was, we have to make sure that Hillary is completely out of this, and we have to make sure that Peter Paul is totally discredited.
Senator Clinton has not been charged in the case.
The media have not abrogated their responsibilities uniquely in the case of Hillary Clinton. They always have a tendency to fear power and to suck up to power.
Hillary Clinton is not in the loop in any direct way.
It would be very difficult to stretch fingerprints to the senator herself.
I'd be amazed if there's any evidence directly.
You're making an accusation. Can you prove it? How can you prove it? What proof do you have?
Hillary Clinton called me in my office in July of 2000, and I started my video camera.
Whatever it is you're doing, is it okay that I thank you?
I think it's tremendous. No, you know what? We're having a good time trying to help out.
Well, I'm very appreciative. It sounds fabulous. I got a full report from Kelly today when she got back and told me everything that you're doing, and it just sounds like it's going to be a great event. But I just wanted to call and personally thank all of you. I'm glad you were all together so that I could tell you how much this means to me, and it's going to mean a lot to the president, too.
First of all, it shows that she had personal involvement and personal knowledge of the details of this gala. You hear her describing how she solicited a contribution by share. Therefore, she was soliciting an illegal contribution. So that, too, is a violation of the law. And the FEC law is quite clear. It is a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in jail, for a candidate to be directly involved in this sort of fundraising activity if it exceeds $25,000. And the FEC found that it exceeded $1.2 million. It's crime on tape, very simple.
What we're seeing here is a corruption of the political process, a corruption of the electoral process.
Hillary Clinton and her representatives have been able to squash investigations in all three branches of government.
The corruption just seems to extend to everything.
When citizens truly care about an issue, they sometimes have to put their lives and careers on the line for that issue, and that's what Peter Paul is doing in this case.
People will finally realize the threat posed by Hillary Clinton to this country and the rest of the world.